get underway. Thanks. Yes, good morning, councillors, staff, any of the public, I'm not sure, media. We'll start the meeting this morning with a karakia, and we'll have that by committee member Starkey. Thank you. Thank you. Just a reminder, the meeting this morning is being recorded. You can view it on the council's YouTube channel. Keep your microphones off unless you're speaking. Put your hand up if you've got a question. I think that, yeah, just a reminder, the media are present, we do have our meeting this morning is scheduled for a shorter time due to some other commitments. So we are scheduled to finish at 11:30. So if people could keep that in mind, thank you. We have Councillor Hill on Zoom, and we also have Steve Manners, who had a commitment this morning, and he is also on Zoom. We have apologies this morning from the Mayor for lateness, and we have apologies from Councillor Mailing and Councillor Greening. So is someone moved by Councillor Maru, seconded by Councillor Walker? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. We don't have any public forum this morning. Do we have any declarations of interest? No declarations of interest. We don't have any late items. Just to note that the addendum that was put on LG Hub, because it's not a decision paper, we don't need to record that as a late item. We have got 2 sets of minutes that we need to move this morning. So we have the minutes of the Operations Committee meeting held on the 26th of September. Do we have a mover for those minutes, please? Moved Councillor Dakey, seconded Councillor Maru. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. We also have the minutes of the Operations Committee meeting held on the 7th of November. Need to be confirmed as a true and correct record. Do we have a mover for that, please? Moved Councillor Dakey, seconded Councillor Kinmonth. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. That takes us to our reports. So our first report this morning is our 6-month performance measure progress report. Morning, Alan and Emily. Thank you. I shall hand it over to you. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. I'm happy to take the report as read. I'll just note that there was a slight error in my attachment 1. So on page 5, there's a missing word at the very bottom, kindly pointed out by Councillor Ellis, which is resources, but you will have seen the email that I sent around. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So yes, any questions, clarification? Did you want to say something, Alan?
No, not at all. No, but happy to help Emily answer questions.
Cool, thank you. Councillor Maru.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just making sure I'm on the right report. It's pretty hard because it's the first one. It's now I've lost my place. It was around, oh my goodness. It was about the crash rates for 23-24 and a specific mention to the Mootari Highway, and then a link to the speed. But so am I assuming that the vehicle incidents on the Mootari Highway have been identified as being linked to speed? And sorry, I can't find the clause.
All right, thank you. Jamie, welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, councillors.
Yeah, page 15 for those who, yeah.
Bear with me. Also, the question was around,
Yes,
and particularly Moutere Highway, and any comments around speed. Yeah, so I think we're all aware of the link between speed and outcome with a crash. Just reading through the crash reports from many of the crashes, in fact, that we've had, one of the themes is travelling too fast for the conditions or losing control. So loss of control on a bend is one of the leading factors in fatal and serious crashes on our network. So, staff and council have worked through the speed management plan, which identifies that there are some high-risk roads that reducing the speed limit is likely to result in improved crash outcomes or a reduction in harm. So that's the general link. I'm not sure if that's answered your question.
Yeah, sorry, I've found the page now, Jamie. So thanks. It's 5.3. So just in terms of, so there's a general statement there on local roads is 4 more than the equivalent to last year. There's been some key themes, which I'm taking from the answer is related to speed in terms of anything that council can control. It is page 6, 5.4. But then it goes on specifically to, although Moutere Highway continues to be overrepresentative. So is that in speed or?
That's just in the where the crashes are happening. Yep.
And so is speed specifically related to the Moutere Highway statement, or is it just a general statement? I just couldn't get my head around with the 4 more related to speed, was Moutere Highway related to speed? The sort of.
Well, we know it's both. It's fundamental to most fatal and serious crashes is people, losing control at speed.
And sorry, through the chair. And so I get the speed part. So no issues in terms of roads or posted warnings in terms of curbs. And I guess it comes back to the speed question, doesn't it? But so no other issues in terms of the council can control.
No, and in the operation, in the community infrastructure activity report, there's a table that describes in a little bit more detail the crashes, this fatal and serious crashes, and there's some, a lot of uncontrollables in there. A medical event, a motorcycle picking up a loose piece of clothing in its chain, causing the rear wheel to lock, someone hitting a calf that was walking on the road. There's a lot of uncontrollables in there. Yeah.
Councillor Walker and then Councillor Kinmont.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thank you for the information. Mine's on a similar vein with crashes, but mine's actually around e-bikes and, manually powered push bikes. Do Tasman District Council collate those accidents and report them somewhere? I'm mindful in the last few months there's been 2 serious accidents that I'm made aware of, one on the Great Taste Trail, which I understand potentially we've done something about the blind spot around that area in Brooklyn. And then I'm mindful of another one just around Stoke. Wondering, how do we collate that data? And what report would that come to? Thanks, Jamie.
So our primary source of crash data is from police reports that get entered into the crash analysis system, which is the national database that records every crash that police attend. There's a less formal system where people can report crashes to the 0800 cycle crash number, but that is not very well known and not well used and not a reliable source of data. So we really do rely on, in statistical terms, on the national database of crashes.
Thanks for that. And I just wonder if we should be actually putting that messaging out there, because we are, with one of those incidents, person involved came to me and I said that would be really helpful for you to know. And obviously we've acted on that and done something. But if that person hadn't have got that information from myself, they weren't going to do anything about it. Yeah, it was quite a serious, the gentleman's still off work, accident. So, and that is part of the network that we work with. So I'm just wondering how we get that out there. Not that I want to promote accidents, but I do want to promote the safety element of how do we mitigate things.
Yeah, sorry, I could have added earlier that anytime the council receives a service request or a report from somebody, we act upon it. It just doesn't necessarily make it into a specific database aside from our customer services service request database. Yeah.
Thanks, Jamie. Councillor Kinnan-Mont.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Following on from Councillor Maru's questions here, this is a mandatory measure. This is for the serious crashes, that sort of thing. It's a mandatory measure from the Department of Internal Affairs. But the information that we're gathering seems to be an odds with what our core functions are. Yes, speed is an issue on some of these crashes, but it's not the speed limit. It's the speeding vehicles that are causing the issue, isn't it? So I don't see, is there any way we can go back to the Department of Internal Affairs and say, look, this really isn't our core business. We don't really need to measure this and beat ourselves up on it because it's not on track, because we're never going to get on track because we don't control the conditions and the drivers. So can we go back to DIA and say we're not going to do it?
So it's been a measure for a long time. Even though it's a DIA mandatory measure, the council also have it in our activity management plan as one way of measuring safety performance. If we're not measuring safety performance, then there might be concerns with that. So in terms of suggesting a better measure to the Department of Internal Affairs, I'm sure that has been done over they've got a range of measures that not every sort of local authority agrees that are good measures, but that's the DIA's decision. But I would make the point that the council have also, chosen to keep this measure in our activity management plan.
Yes, committee member Snuggie.
Good morning. I just have a question in relation to illegal dumping on page 27. And it talks about increase in illegal dumping since last year. So I just wondered whether any research had been done into why that has increased and what steps we might be taking to address that.
I can speak on that. So David Stevenson is our waste subject matter expert, but he's not here. From my discussions with him, I think the incidences could be increasing. It could be due to the numbers of reporting going up, people actually seeing it and telling us. It could also be due to waste fees as well, which is something that we're addressing in our fees and charges.
Anything further? All good. Thank you. Councillor Maru.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm sure this is my last question on this report. So I'm on page 23, and I could have heard this or may not have heard it, but it's in regards to 3 Ombudsman's Acts complaints were upheld against council, and there are currently others being considered. So is there detail around those? Does it go to another committee? I just don't remember hearing what they were.
I can get you some more information on that from Lee. From my discussions with him, there is a substantial number that are currently sitting with the Ombudsman, but they're all wrapped up by the same individual. And I can get you more information on that from Lee.
Thank you. So specifically be interested in the 3 that the Ombudsman's complaints were upheld.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Maru, I think they are in the reports for audit and risk, which I know you don't sit on, but yeah. Pardon, Councillor Ward?
They're accessible on
Yeah. All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the report. It's good to get it, I think, in a timely fashion. So I do really appreciate that. The one question from me is that, as we know, these performance measures are in our long-term plan. Because they're in our long-term plan, they're required to be audited. I'm aware that the Office of the Auditor General has put out an overview report and its analysis of Council's long-term plan. They do make a comment in that report that they encourage councils to actually look at the number of measures and the relevance of those measures to the community at large and to the running of the business. So my question is, how have we reviewed that report from the Office of the Auditor General, and are we always thinking about what we measure? The reason it's important is because measurement costs money.
I could just for you. I haven't looked at that specific report, but I think as we sort of move into the next LTP, it's something that we should definitely do and look at the areas potentially that are coming out of the report that we can look to improve next LTP on. We certainly did review all of the performance measures in the last LTP process, and no doubt we will do that again in the next one. We did slim down the number of measures a little in the last LTP, and with the perspective that there's obviously a cost to collecting, implement these measures. I guess it's hitting the right balance between that cost and what presents a good picture to the community of what we're doing and how we're doing. So I guess it's part of that accountability back to the community. But yeah, we will certainly look at that report from the Auditor General and have another crack at them in the next process.
Excellent, thank you. We do have a resolution up here. If anybody is inclined to, moved by Councillor Kinnenmont, seconded Councillor Maru, that we received the report. So I'll put that resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much, Emily and Alan. Much appreciated. That takes us to our Information Services Activity Report. And have we got Chris or Peter on Zoom online? No.
Sorry, you, Chair. I was expecting one or other of them to be in the room today, so I'll just trace up and see where they've got to. Apologies for that.
Okay, all right. Well, we might come back to that item, and we might move to the Community Infrastructure Group Activity Report. So yeah, we've got Nick, Grant, Jamie, Mike. Thank you. Now we'll do this report in sections, as we usually do. And we are going to start with the management update by Richard, who will also include in the addendum report, which covers local water done well in Bald Creek. So I shall start by handing over to you, Richard. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll take the reports as read, and apologies about the addendum. There has been a bit on lately, as you appreciate. The local water done well is progressing well on several fronts. We've got an informal time with all of you next Wednesday to go through where we're at with the indicative business cases for the three options. That's the in-house option, plus our own CCO, plus a combined CCO. We've been meeting with the representatives from Bulla and with Marlborough at my level. And today the three mayors are meeting here at Tasman just to gauge the different councils' views, because one of the important things is when we do go out to consult the three of us individually, that we're aligned in our thinking, particularly around the combined CCO. So the initial discussion today is going to be largely around that. Plus, there's a presentation on the initial outputs on the combined CCO, the costs and that into the future. One other aspect that I'll bring to your attention, it's in the addendum as well, is the addition of the iwi representatives to the project governance group. Corey Hibbard, Hemi Sungren and Tui Hippolyte have been added. The project governance group, you recall when we set this up last September, there was discussion about iwi involvement, and there was general comfort around the committee table here that the project governance group would decide amongst themselves the representation. So they were nominated by Tito Iwi, and the governance group said yes. So they attended the first meeting last week, and basically on a pretty steep learning curve like we all are with this, but they had some excellent feedback. One of the concerns they did raise, and I will raise in a public meeting, is why is Nelson City Council not having discussions with us? So we've left the ball in their court to have a discussion with Nelson City Council, because their view is if we're working with Marlborough, Tito Partnership Agreement involves the three councils, so why shouldn't we be consistent in our CCO? So yeah, so there's that. Other than that, the Lower Queen Street work, you'll recall when you approved extra funding for that project, we had a bit of a discussion about whether we needed to go ahead with the bypass at the $1.4 to $1.8 million. And you wanted us to go back and do some scenarios on what impact would have on the traffic on the rest of the network if we close that road for the duration of the project. Well, in the report there, I've just outlined the three scenarios that we have got. And we are going to be, for that week that we have to close the road anyway to do some preliminary work before we start the contract, we are having, we're putting some intensive monitoring of traffic during that week to see what the impacts are. And then we'll be presenting a report to you probably in mid-June on whether you want to go ahead, based on the information, go ahead and close the road for the duration of the project and save the dollars that we've talked about, or whether you said, no, we won't do that. We'll obviously have to invest in putting the bypass in. So that decision will be made in June, but I've just updated you on the process for that. So open for any questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good, thank you. So yes, we do have questions. Councillor Allens.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Can I just have some clarification about the timings? When we had a discussion about this, I thought the timings were 9 months and can't remember the other one, but here could be best case scenario 14 months. So I'm just wondering what happened between the 13th of February and now.
I might have to rely on, are you able to answer that one, Adam? My understanding was, and I've seen the 9 months, I can't recall that being the discussion. It was the 9 months with the road completely closed, but I think we've intimated here that if we closed it completely, we could get it done in the 14 months. Yeah. So I'm not sure about the 9 months. I know certainly I've looked at the program and 14 months is the one with the closure. Perhaps you could clarify further, Adam?
Yeah, morning through the chair. Yeah, my understanding it was 12 months to get that job done. So, and to do the bypass as well, so it's 14 months. That's my understanding. I can clarify that and come back. I'll talk to Jack.
I think after the last meeting, if the 9 months was suggested, they've gone back and talked with Fulton Hogan about the whole project. I suspect 9 months was probably just the physical construction of the bridge and not the whole project, whereas I'm talking about the whole project here. Now, if we do it in 9 months, brilliant. But at this stage, the indications are 14 months. So with the road closure, if there's a bypass, and then it'd be the 17 months. Yeah. And the timing of it lines up with Wensley Road. We want Wensley Road open before we close Lower Queen Street. So at this stage, it looks like Wensley Road will be open towards the end of April, in which case we're envisaging starting the work on Lower Queen Street beginning of May.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Any other questions for Mr. Kirby? Councillor Kinnermonth? Can we just do Councillor Kinnermonth first and then?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, page 43, management update, the table there to do with health and safety. What's the health and safety observations? Is that where health and safety has been compromised or something like that?
No, we require our project managers, whenever they visit sites, to observe that the health and safety procedures are being implemented. And we record that visit so that, we can show that we have been monitoring to make sure that contractors are meeting their obligations.
Then the next line down is health and safety briefings. I presume that is also with the contractors.
Mostly, yes, that's right. There are some briefings amongst the project managers themselves about learnings from the projects, but mostly it's with the contractors, correct. Some of the contractors have quite frequent briefings. In fact, our own down, they meet once a week. They have a boot meeting in the morning to discuss the projects that they're going to be doing that week and what health and safety measures they need to implement. They may be different than their normal procedures, so they do meet frequently on that.
Then the last line down there is number of health and safety courses attended by staff, 58. So 1 in 4 of our staff have attended a health and safety course in the last 6 months. Is that another way of looking at it?
Yep, that'll be right. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask Mike. You answer that one? Yep.
Yeah, a lot of them are quite low key, just an hour here. For example, a crowd went off a few weeks ago and did a manhole safety listing course that was like an hour or two. A lot of our courses are awareness courses as opposed to a full, for example, confined spaces or working at heights. We just run an awareness course so they know not to get themselves in those situations. We don't actually do the 3-day course where they're actually trained to run through those scenarios. So it sounds like a lot, but they're generally quite short-term ones just to keep up to date with how things are going.
Thank you.
Councillor Dowler and then Councillor Mara.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's probably to Adam or Rob or whatever regarding the bypass. What sort of bypass is it? 1.8 million.
So basically you've got to build almost another road because it's got to take all the full traffic, all the trucks and everything. So it's quite a solid structure, if you want to call it that, around where it's going, yeah. So it's not just a metal, take some metal in and go around. It's like basically another road.
It's just, don't we build a proper bridge and just get on with it, leave it there, and then take the old one down? I mean, just a thought, but no, I just see other places, they whack up a Bailey Bridge and have traffic lights at each end and they get on with it. You don't worry about double laning everything. You make everybody give way and do it, and at least it will keep a bridge there for the emergency services, being the ambulance service to town. I thought I'm just chucking something in the mix.
The traffic modelling, I think they did look at that, and the implications if you put traffic lights in and stall people, you might as well close the bridge because people will just divert other ways and avoid the place, and you'll end up congestion elsewhere. So they did go through that exercise and look at it. But we are talking about a proper concrete bridge across that culvert. Yeah.
They make it 30 metres longer and make it the new bridge, and then it leaves the old bridge working in the meantime.
I think the intention on that, through you, Madam, to Lower Queen Street, I'm not sure we want a dog leg in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
Right, thank you. Councillor Maru.
I think it's a good place, isn't it, Madam Chair? Mine's really brief. I just wanted to acknowledge and the sadness of departure of Jenny Thornborough going to the North Island. I just read it, just caught my eye then. So Jenny was fantastic for the road safety work she did. So you'll miss her, I suspect, Jamie. So
Thank you. Was there something else, councillors?
No, we just want to
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay.
Great, Madam Chair.
We know what happens to the naughty boys. All right, thank you. I think we've covered the management update. So we're now, Nick, going to move. Oh, no, Councillor Kinnemont.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I've got a couple of questions here. Page 46 under fleet. How are the electric hybrid vehicles going? Are they winning the staff's confidence and that sort of thing?
All right, if we could just interrupt there. So I think you've actually moved on to Nick's part of the report. So we're just on the management update. So we'll hand it over to Nick and he can introduce his bit of the report. Yes, thank you. Nick, over to you, please.
Through you, Madam Chair. I'll just to answer Councillor Kinnemoff's question. Yeah, the electric vehicles are going well. We've had no real problems. Total fuel costs have dropped by half, and we'll probably look at adding more electric vehicles or PHEVs in the future. I'll take my report as read, and if there's any questions, please fire away.
All right, thank you. So we're doing pages 44 to 49 now. So Councillor Kinnemont, did you have another question?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Maru.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have one on the fleet, just because you're raising that. So half the price in fuel, what's the counterbalance in AUCs?
Electric costs.
They pay AUCs now?
Oh, yes, sorry. I'll have to come back to you on that. We've also been monitoring electric energy costs as well, but I'll come
so I get the half price now. I'm just interested in. And do we buy outright our vehicles? So the Ford Ranger that's had a new engine now has got brake problems. That's not replaced under a lease agreement. We buy our vehicles.
Through Madam Chair, yes, correct.
Just so Councillor Walker, you're going to ask a question about the Youth Council. So I'm 4.1. I'm perplexed that the Youth Council, and I guess to declare half an interest when the Waimea Youth Council was reset up, we set it up in this chamber. Certainly Nelson City hosts their youth councillors in council chambers, and it sort of adds some meaningful presence for youth councillors. So just a little bit perplexed that we can't find our way through that. There'll be some responsible person with them, I'm sure. How come they can't use the chamber?
Through you, Madam Chair, they can use chamber, but a staff member will have to be present, particularly if it's after hours.
What about if there was a contracted staff member as part of the youth council? Because I believe there's still an organisation contracted to facilitate youth. Oh, there's not. Okay. When do you? Okay, I'm at lost. It'd be really nice to see the youth council in chambers because it does bring more meaning and presence to the work of the youth council.
Yeah, Councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll probably take this conversation offline for most of it and speed date you up to where we're with the Youth Council. But just so that we are aware, the Waimea Youth Council do meet here every second Friday night, 3:30ish till 6, and there are staff and myself present. But there are a lot of changes afoot with the Youth Council. But yeah, we'll talk to you later. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Naughty boys and speed dating this morning. Deputy Mayor Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of questions, if I may, for you to Nick. Firstly, in relation to the fleet, Ford Ranger had an engine replaced. That seems quite extreme in this day when we're turning these vehicles over quite quickly at relatively low Ks. I just wondered and was it covered by some sort of warranty or not?
Sure, you, Madam Chair. The engine blew up just out of warranty, but there is a fault with these vehicles throughout the world, and Ford have replaced the engine at no cost to council.
Thank you. And then just in relation to facilities, the Murchison workshop for contractors yard building, haven't seen it physically in person, but the photo looks great. use and out of it, and they're paying it for the so that's a very
Councillor Cunningham, did you have? No, okay, all good. All right, Nick, thank you very much for the section of your report. We're now going to move on to Jamie and transportation. So there's 20 pages here, page 49 through to 69. Thank you, Jamie, over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to receive any questions, taking the report as read, but just picking up on Councillor Murray's comment, yeah, I just want to acknowledge Jenny Thornborough's contribution. She's been a fantastic member of staff and we're really going to miss her. She's been involved in some great work and really is well respected amongst members of our community and other organisations. So yeah, thanks to Jenny, and I'm happy to take questions.
All right. Transportation, Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you, through Madam Chair. I note on page 52, you have installed some new curb and channel and new surfacing. Yet we don't record anywhere where you've done that on an annual basis. Where in the report do I see that you've extended the network by 70 metres of new curb and channel, new road surfacing? Where do I find that information?
If that's of interest to council, that's not something we've traditionally reported, I guess, directly through an ops committee. We can certainly expand on that at the end of each financial year if you would like. I guess it's the way you might typically see how our network has changed is each time we update our activity management plan every 3 years, and we describe now the assets we're managing and what the issues that we're facing are. So maybe that's enough.
No, just that we've got a network, and is it growing or shrinking? And that's the same with the water and wastewater. Is it, and what are we doing about enlarging or shrinking it? But I'll leave it up to the GM to sort all that stuff out. Can I just carry on through, Madam Chair, page 59?
Yeah, so maybe just a comment on that point. I mean, I think, Jamie, you're absolutely right. The activity management plans is a really good place to go to for that information that gets updated. I don't think this committee is requesting additional reporting. Yep. Councillor Cunningham.
One last question. Page 59, clause 5.28. The work you've done at the schools in Upper Moutere and Lower Moutere. That would be huge. And I'm just wondering, do you take that out to other schools as well?
Through the chair, yes, yeah. Jenny has worked with any schools that have been open to receiving that sort of approach. Yeah. So, and she's touched many schools all across the district.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Any other questions for Jamie? Deputy Mayor Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in relation to Jenny's resignation, I guess, moving to something else. She's done great work, and I really endorse the work she does out that Councillor Kivermoff's really referred to, and also at public events like AMP show, at the Nelson show just down the road. That was a great effort this year. She really combined a number of activities, and it was a real magnet, particularly with the seatbelt device. That was a real magnet for young people and older people, and then even in between. So yeah, great work. So is it planned that her replacement will carry on with that work, or? how is that going to pan out?
The council is in a challenging position financially, with NZTA effectively cutting funding for that activity. So we are having to kind of revisit exactly what is affordable in this space. So we've got a bit of work to do to review that.
And then just the other question I have in relation to the report is just around the litter bin budget not being in the LTP. How did we miss that?
I'm probably not the best person to ask about that.
Right.
Yes, as you know, through you, Madam Chair, there are about 3 budgets, I think, in the LTP, 1 in Jamie's area and 2 in the water and wastes area. When the final figures went in for some reason, they were zeroed out. Whether it was a must, should, could, and they were put in as a should do, all right, we'll deal with all the shoulds, only doing musts. And so they were cut out. So, and we only found those out after the budgets had been released in about August or September. So it's put us on the back foot right from day one.
Thank you.
Human intervention.
Yes. Yeah.
Anything else, Deputy Mayor Bryant?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, we've got.
My colleague here has got his hand up.
Okay, okay, right. We've got Councillor Walker, Councillor Dowler, Councillor Daihi, Councillor Maru.
Thank you to you, Madam Chair. So just reflecting a little bit back on that conversation around losing that funding, and we're doing that work, Jamie, with the schools. Where does the Ministry of Education come on board to help fund some of that education program?
The MOE don't really have any direct engagement with us about things like road safety funding. Yeah, so the central government organisations we work with around funding, who work with us around funding are NZTA and ACC. But unfortunately, ACC have also pulled right back on their funding of some of our programs. So it's a really, really tough space right now. So there's just no funding being made available from central government.
And is the same when you get down to item number 5.39, alcohol education impairment program? Is the Ministry of Health helping with any of that? Like, I struggle with when you sit here, not just you, but all of us, around where we find ourselves financially. And these are great programs, but is that our core business if we're not getting buy-in and collaboration from other agencies with finances other than their presence?
Yeah, so the hardest thing about delivering this activity is finding out what each agency has available and how we can collaborate together to leverage each other's relatively small investments. So police have some money, ACC have some money. Luckily, we've got really helpful private sector partners like AIG, who all put a little bit into the bucket, and we get together and through the Road Safety Action Plan have been able to deliver some really cool programs that actually make a difference that none of the agencies individually would have been able to deliver. So your police, ACC, NZTA, insurance companies, FENS. But, you could argue there are some agencies missing in that, but we just aren't able to really do anything about that.
And one more question for you, Chair, is I would quite like to see budget line items as to what these programs are actually costing and what you are getting, whether it's printed material or actually what resources the other groups are bringing to the table. Thanks.
Through the Chair, we'll compile some information that breaks down sort of the areas that are being targeted and the budgets for each of those, and we'll circulate that.
Thank you, Jamie.
Doesn't cost too much to report.
Through you, Madam Chair, perhaps I just comment on that one. As you know, we are under fairly tight fiscal restraints at the moment, and this is one area where we will probably have to pull back mainly because the NZTA is not funding it any longer. So, I mean, they are good programs, and that's something that you as a council are going to have to consider. Do we want to carry it on as a community event or community funding event? But that's going to be a decision you make. But Jamie will pull that information together if you indicate how much the costs are to do that. I don't know. We did the transportation discussion with you informally earlier this week, but I'll get Jamie to just to add that perhaps when we do our wrap up later in the month that we can cover that one off as well.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dowler.
Don't know whether I can fit a question in, but I'll make a comment if that's okay. It's to do with the Moutere Highway and the report before and report in here now. Yes, I do agree that speed is quite a factor on that road. I've seen it over the years. But a comment is when I was a government vehicle inspector from 1990 to 1995 in Motueka, one of the roles was fatal motor accident investigations, and we had to report to the court if there was anything wrong with the vehicle. I had one at Robinson Road, truck and trailer versus what we called a hippie bus in the day, an old J1 Bedford with a box built on the back that someone lived in. He had brake failure, went out through the intersection. The truck took him out and killed him. Edwards Road, up the road to there. People driving through the giveaway sign and being T-boned. One was motorbike, the guy on the motorbike died. Another one was the driver of the car that went through the stop sign and was killed. Since then, we've done the new visibility area, and I think the crashes there have reduced quite remarkably. I haven't heard of any fatals there over the last few. Yeah. But these two, these three fatals I'm talking about happened within a 6-month period. And there I was also called to other serious accidents along the road where they thought the person may have died. So we did vehicle inspections, but out of probably the 12 in the district or in my area that I did over the 5 years, I think 11 of them were nut behind the wheel. That's what we put it down to. People not observing the road conditions or the controls or something. That's my comment. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Councillor Dowler. Councillor Dakey, then Councillor Maru.
Thank you, through the chair. So in the manager's report, first bit, and it's more a question for Jamie, it's around the levels of service traffic model for Lower Queen Street, around the vehicle volumes and the impact of having the road closed to build a bridge. When I read through the report, maybe the levels of impact predicted aren't as great as I was expecting. We've got average speed drops from 42 to 36. So I certainly support investigating perhaps the option of closing the bridge and not building a temporary bypass and saving the money, because the report isn't quite as drastic as I thought it would be. But that's just a comment. So I think we're on the right path. My question is, do we work with NZTA to rephase the traffic lights and look at that sort of overall network when we get to that stage? Because obviously we're going to change the way the whole flow works. So will NZTA come on board and assist us in dealing with this change? Yeah, through the chair, absolutely. Yeah, we work in partnership with NZTA. Their Wellington Traffic Operations Centre operates all of the traffic signals in this area. So they have a very sophisticated way of analysing signals and preparing to rephase or reallocate the phase timing based on expected traffic flow. So short answer, yes. Yeah. So just follow up question to yes. So for our week when we may have a temporary closure, do they have the ability to look and say, well, traffic's decreased down this road, now it's coming this way, and that week will they look at it in that, or is that a longer scale that need to change? We're just talking with a provider at the moment, so that WTOC can't do that. So they operate the signals, they can see what's happening at the signals, but that's all, not every other road in the area. So we're talking with a provider at the moment about access to a data set that will describe exactly what the wider network impacts are in actual travel time, actual speeds, and actual volumes on detours. So that's going to be really useful to compare what the modelling we've done suggested might happen versus what actually happens. A comment I will make about the modelling that was done in the report associated with that, it's very easy to kind of gloss over real impacts or real risks. And the real risk when the model report describes the level of service dropping to level of service E in terms of traffic flow. E is just a rung above F. F is gridlock and no one's going anywhere. E is very susceptible to being impacted. So that it says basically level of service E defines the flow as unstable. So the traffic flow is unstable, and any kind of a butterfly flaps its wings and it collapses, and you're in F. That's the what we want to understand is how resilient the network really is to that risk, and we can monitor that through the wet temporary closure and so yeah, there's a lot of work going into making sure that we measure that real world impacts to make a good decision about the long term. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And our last question on transportation, Councillor Maru.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It might be a question for Mr. Kirby or Madam Chair. So item 5.1, I know we've been asking for heads up in terms of potential overspends at budget time, and then decisions around those rather than retrospective ones or decisions to change. So we have the information, we don't have a decision mechanism. So what's the next step relating to if there was and I think that's talked about in one of the last points in there, 5.3, that if council was considering applying some of these in the current year, at what point in decision-making time, because we're now 3 months out from the end of financial year. So I'm not sure, it's probably not a Jamie question, it's probably a Kirby question.
Mr. Kirby.
I anticipated this, and when I looked at the recommendations for the report, I thought, should I be putting some recommendations in on cutting some of these levels of service, like from the 1st of April this year? So I thought I was going to leave it to discussion today. And if you felt that you wanted to implement some of these this year, for the last 3 months or so for this year, we'd take that and come back to you probably to a council meeting, probably the 27th of March, to confirm that decision, so that we've got something on a direction from you to do that. Obviously, around that is going to be a whole lot of consultation with people to let them know that this is what's happening. Not only in the roading, I'm also thinking of the parks and reserves and the water and waste and all that sort of thing. There's some options on the table here to cut this year's expenditure. And my intention was, rather than sit around the table here and try and get resolutions on place, was get some direction from the meeting today, so that we can draft up some resolutions to come back to you formally with.
Thank you. Through the chair, I certainly favour the options. I'm not sure that I support cutting the service, but I'd certainly rather be in a place where it was put before council prior to the end of financial year, and the council made that decision. So certainly I would support the options coming back and let there be debate at a council meeting and the options made, and then you can't be blamed for, in respective budget blowout. It will be council's decision.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Maru. And it certainly came up as well under the waters and waste update. We, if we wanted to do this, so I'm just going to look for maybe a general show of hands that actually we do want the ability to make choices. And so therefore that would necessitate its own paper to come to that council meeting. And this would be covering all of these areas, maybe, waters and waste, transportation and parks and reserves. So if we want that report, can I just get a general kind of show of hands from people? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, that's a definite yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Chair. Just a point about the cycleways and pathways with vegetations that are reducing the width of the path or usable path, whether temporarily or permanently. It's quite something, isn't it? We spend all that money and then we let weeds come in over the edges, and I just think it's something we just got to really get on top of. And I noted from yesterday that, we've got a subcontractor over here for Pohara Tākaka Pathway, and hopefully they'll take care of Scott's Corner, where we're down to about barely 18 inches of gravel scooting around that corner. So it's good that it's been brought up in here, and I just strongly encourage we attend to that wherever we've got a path. Yes or no, it's money. Just wondering whether bollards were taken out on Abel Tasman Drive post an accident, Jamie.
Through the chair, sorry, I don't have that information to hand. I'll come back to you with that, councillor.
Thank you. And in terms of 5.52, Golden Bay Cycle and Walking Society have been raising concerns with council for some time now around the safety around from Pohara Valley Road round through the port and further on. And they raised that actually Stantec in their report to council did bring up the matter of cycle safety through there. And while we can say we don't have any budget to address this, what steps could be taken, or are we considering what other steps could be taken in the meantime to reduce risk to cyclists and walkers around there? Cycling's increased a lot with people on e-bikes venturing out a bit further, and there's been a near miss that there just very recently. So I'm wanting to know that it doesn't feel like enough for me that we just go, oh well, we don't have the money to put a cycle lane around there, cantilever it and whatever else, but something has to be addressed here. And the issue they've raised with us is that we've made some developments at the port, which you might say are, some of them are maintenance, you could probably categorise, but others are, you'd have to say, are developments. And that's their beef, is that if it was a private company that was doing that developing, then they might be asked to attend to safety on the road for others, given the increase in truck movements that there are going to be.
Through the chair. Improving the safety of cyclists along that road is not an easy one to solve, or would have been solved by now. Couple of things that we have been working on, and you'll be aware of, is the speed management plan. So reducing the speed, or the speed differential between cyclists and general traffic, is one way of improving the safety of cyclists. But we are unable to set a speed limit of 30, which would be a safe speed limit for cyclists to share the road with other general traffic. So basically, it's a situation where the safest thing for cyclists to do is to take the lane rather than try and squeeze themselves along to the left, which is exactly what happened when that near miss occurred recently, where a truck decided to overtake a cyclist on a blind bend and then just about knocked the cyclist off. I don't believe putting up signs, for example, would make any difference. So we'll have a look at the sign situation, but I believe that there were already sort of warning signs notifying drivers that there are pedestrians and cyclists around, but we'll double check that. That'll probably have a negligible effect on safety. Any developments at the port or developments in general, right, through a resource consent process, those all go through the respective consent process, independent of my activity, and the requirement or the effects of the proposed development and the mitigations for those effects are managed by the planning team through that regulatory process, and the outcome of that is the outcome of that. The outcome might not be, as often is the case, we would like to see a greater level of upgrade to existing roads by developers, but developers equally will push back and say, well, that's not fair on us, and that gets worked through the process, and the result pops out. And in this case, obviously, the process didn't result in a requirement to do any major physical changes to the road. So in terms of how the council might respond to that, the guidance you gave us during the previous walking and cycling strategy approval was that we want to focus firstly on urban roads where the benefits of investing in walking and cycling infrastructure are greater. It's going to have the greatest effect on safety, on mode shift, on the council's strategic goals. And at the next review of the walking and cycling strategy, which is likely in 2027, council will consider what progress it's made and whether it wants to sort of reset targets to push out more into rural areas. So that's kind of that's the direction that you've given us to date, and that's where we are now.
Yes, and you know, improving the urban roads isn't going to increase the safety at Port Tarakohi for cyclists. And you know, I guess that the ultimate measure is if somebody dies or is hurt incredibly badly, and we go, oh, did we do all that we could here? Do we think that actually signs don't work, so we didn't do that? I think we need to take a stronger line with this, and I'm a bit reluctant to accept that signage won't make a difference. And if there's signage, you know, reminding cyclists about how they do have a right to go down the, you know, down the lane of the road, and that I think we could put something stronger up around being very careful that there are cyclists and people walking along that tricky bit of road. I'll leave it there for now, but I do know this is an ongoing matter within council between the Cycleway Society and our managers. But I don't think it's enough to just think, well, this is a bit, you know, haven't got the money and it's difficult. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. I think Jamie's heard your message there. Deputy Mayor Bryant, we've got a few to get through here, and we're eating into our last hour of our time slot. Deputy Mayor Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of quick things. Just to follow on from Councillor Hill, it's fair to say that maintenance on the cycle trail seems really variable in different areas. I know at Wakefield we have a group that works under the guise of the cycle trail between Wakefield and Holt Valley and do a really great job. And then outside our Tapuera property, there's a guy that mows it. I don't know who he's working for, if he just does it on his own. Because I was under the impression that the Cycle Trail Trust was in some ways responsible for the maintenance. Councillor Dowell is probably laughing because that was something that Councillor Norris was very strong about, who was going to do the maintenance. And then in the section between Higgins Road and Edward Street in Wakefield, no one does it, and it looks really unkempt. So I just really wonder, is this a lack of coordination, or what's the issue?
I just wonder, Jamie, before you answer, whether we could just record it as saying, I think it would be useful for all of us to understand more about how that operating model works, and that maybe we could get some future report back from the trust on how they go about it. But Jamie.
Through the chair, yeah, that's probably a really good idea. The council has signed a maintenance contract with the Nelson Tasman Cycle Trails Trust. So that covers a range of sections of trail and different elements of maintenance. The trust then go on to engage a number of different parties to help them with that work. And the end result is that the trail gets maintained at a cost that is much less than commercial rates that might be paid to, you know, a regular contractor to do all the work at commercial rates. Yeah, just picking up on, I guess, some of the queries and concerns and questions. Yeah, it would probably be a good idea to invite the trust to come and give us a bit of a presentation.
And then quickly, just my second question relates to the drainage and culvert work on Keriri, Top House and Kerr Hills roads. That's a great effort again, Jamie. But I do understand that we have an arrangement with our alliance where we do a certain number of culverts per year, or to try to. Is that going to continue going forward, is my question. But also congratulations on that work on those two roads.
Thank you, and through the chair. Sorry, not sure which agreement you're
well, just in the partnership type agreement, there is some sort of arrangement around continue, because we have a huge number of culverts across the district that work towards either cleaning or replace them, as I understand.
Yeah, the way it works in practice is the Alliance has a budgeted amount to complete all of the drainage renewals and all of the drainage maintenance per year, and it prioritises the work up to that budget limit. Yeah, so that's the way it works.
Excellent.
Councillor Cunninmont, then Councillor Shellcrest.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'll be very quick. The Mapua community is asking me when these concrete separators are going to be removed from Aranui Road. Have you got a date, or can it be sped up?
It's through the chair. Yeah, it's imminent. We've got a contractor engaged getting a management plan signed off. So I'll come back to you with the exact date.
Thank you, Councillor. No, all good. Okay. All right. I think that takes us to the end of transportation. Thank you very much. I think what we'll do now, and apologies for this, Chris and Peter, but I bumped you from before. But you can argue it out with later. Anyway, I think that we might just quickly do your report now, if we could. Sorry, Grant, Mike, and Adam and Rob, but let's just move to the Information Services Activity Report, page 33. So over to you, Chris, I'm assuming, or is it Peter?
We're not quite sure ourselves to chat. Sorry for our lateness. We misjudged the timing of the meetings. Apologies. Yes, so the reports there, that isn't a whole lot to update on, but we can share some of the highlights if you have any questions of any particular things.
All right, well, we'll go to questions. Deputy Mayor Bryant.
My apologies. And the update about that. I'm just wondering about now animal controls being delayed. Is that going to make any substantial difference to how they operate, or just can you tell us a little bit about that?
It doesn't make any difference to how they operate, and it also allows them, because they're currently going through a period of change, to work through that before we make any changes at the customer end. So with the delay, the build of the animal registration customer portal is built. It's just the way it integrates at the back end with the magic system that will be done later. But it'll still allow us to put it in place so we're ready for the registration year for 2026.
Thank you. And I understand the customer service people are really keen, looking forward to this project, and at some stage we'll get an update as well. Obviously, it's quite a substantial change, is it?
It's a new way with a portal at the front end on the website where people can start to lodge their own requests. It'll just be service requests to start with and facilities bookings, but then more requests will come online, more services will come online over time, such as our permits and applications and various bits and pieces. So yeah, it's going to be good.
Now this one is operational, but I apologise for that. I'm a frequent visitor to the service desk upstairs, and Raywin has asked me to ask all councillors that they use the restart button on their laptops, and I'm going to send an email to everyone shortly about that. But would you just like to explain why that's important?
That's an excellent question, and thank you for helping us with our service desk work, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So what people may not realise is that if you shut down your laptop, it closes the session you have open, and when you start, it just opens it again. When you restart your laptop, it refreshes all the services that run on it. So over time, the services that are running on your laptop, they eat into bits of your memory, and if you don't restart for, say, several months, you might notice your machine becomes degraded. And one thing we noticed is that things like video conferencing, like camera or microphones, can start misbehaving. So it's really important to restart. I would suggest at least once a week. It only takes a moment, and it means you end up with a nice fresh session, but don't just do the switch off because it doesn't do what you think it's maybe doing.
Well, it certainly was something I wasn't aware of, and yeah, it's hugely important because I've probably gone a whole year before I even done that. So there must be a lot of stuff in the back of the laptop there working away. So Yeah, so councillors can, but I did wonder, Peter, if it should be coming from, not from me, but from the team or yourself or someone, just about that. And particularly like in the new term, if you have these same ones. Yeah, so just give that some thought as well.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Absolutely take that on board. We have blogged this in the past, and it is in our service portal that you use when you make requests. I'm not sure if the councillors get the news posts that come through on the intranet. But yeah, with all of this sort of communications, you can never do too much of it, and reminders are always good.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bryant. It's always good to know you can learn something after, what was it, 26 years? Or well done. So for our information services, we do have the resolution up there. If Councillor Kinnan-Month.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I do have some serious concerns about the attachment. The operations model benefits realisation of all these charts we've got here. What is the purpose of these charts, and what information are you going to try and get to us? Because they lack identifying cost reductions, staff reductions, timeliness, and ease of reporting. So, and then that's one question. And then the next question we get down to, in there's some reporting statistics. 25% of workforce typically work from home, and all sorts of other things in there that I think you're doubling up on your reporting system by having both there. So am I missing something, or could you just give me some information, please?
Yes, through you, Chair. This was really just an information for your information that this piece of work had happened. The IS operating model piece of work was done as part of the digital program, recognising that when we started the digital program back in 2021, we were lacking certain amounts of capability and capacity to move to the modern digital environments that we needed to. So the operating model program that we ran through was to take the IS team from sort of the old traditional ways of working with IT to the new ways of working. So this is just the outcomes from that and the areas that we focused on, and it's really just there as an FYI. It's not it won't be something that you see every report that comes through.
So it's an internal thing more than just giving us information.
That's right.
Okay, one last question. Page 39, you've got 3 new governance groups, PRB, ARB, CAB. Can you elaborate on those a little bit?
Yes, through you, Chair. So this also relates to the operating model. So previously we had a very basic service desk, logging jobs and fixes, but the way that new technology and new changes in our technology and the way council did services and processes was fairly unmanaged, and so you end up with more work that you can possibly get through, or the loudest person in the room gets their change done, or one change gets done and affects something else. So these 3 boards each do a particular thing. The PRB, which is the portfolio review, that looks at all the projects and it sizes those and it gives them a weighting and a mark, and that tells us which bits of work we do first. The ARB, the architectural board, looks at how different technology comes into the organisation, and is it the right technology to come in? Do we already run similar technology? Do we need to bring something new in, and what is the effect of that? So it always ensures that we have a cohesive technology foundation in the organisation, not a whole bunch of different disconnected things. And the CAB, the CAB, is when we make a change to our network, it always goes through the CAB so that we can assess it in our team and we know what changes are made, so that when we have a problem on the network, we can see what changes have been made and then be able to refer back, and it'll hopefully give us a steer on what the cause of any issue is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kinmonth. I guess, it's great to see the reporting on benefits. I mean, we're investing many, many millions of dollars into this area of our business, and we do need to be focused on actually understanding the benefits and being able to record them. And I guess ultimately it would be quite good to understand where we've lifted our maturity to on a maturity index, because it would seem to me that we've made a quantum leap, and so it would be quite good to kind of understand where we've got that. Chris, you wanted to make a comment?
Yeah, if I may, just around the benefits management and the benefits realisation, and acknowledging the comment made there that we haven't got a lot of hard stats in there. We are on a journey ourselves with our benefits management maturity. And so over the past couple of years, we've been developing our benefits framework. So we've got very clear investment logic maps for all of our work streams, identify the benefits. And our next step is to sharpen up as we get into the project delivery on much more tangible, where possible, costed benefits. So we're working on that, and we've just implemented a new benefits register to capture our benefits, and that's being populated now. So we are making improvements in that process as well.
Thank you, Councillor Shellcrest.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, this one always makes my head spin a wee bit, this technology thing, but AI, is that going to be something that may help moving forward and bringing those costs and speeding things up? It just seems to be a thing that just sort of seems to just churn along really slowly. But yeah, is that looking like that's going to help with what you guys are doing?
Through you, Chair, you're talking our language now. This is absolutely what we're looking to do with the digital program. So I don't know if I quite made it into the report, but we've just initiated a proof of concept around AI for Lagoimas. We get a lot of Lagoimas into the organisation, so we're looking to make efficiencies around how we respond to Lagoimas and using AI to do that. So the digital solutions that we're investing in all have AI built into them, and not just different systems with different AIs, but a cohesive AI right across our platform. So the idea that we want to get to when, say, people request things of us, whether they're applying for a resource consent or making a Lagoima, is that we can have a lot more automation of our workflow, so we don't have so many people manually processing things along, and the AI start to do a lot of the work for us. So this is what it's all about, is laying this foundation so we can really take advantage of that in the future. But with the policies around AI that we have in place, it's always with a sense of being within New Zealand law and regulations, and with safety and cybersecurity front and centre. So not just a wild mutation of AI.
Thank you. Councillor Murray, maybe you might like to move as well?
Happy to move, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Did you have anything else?
No, just
okay. Okay, and so we've got a resolution which has been moved by Councillor Maru, seconded by Councillor Walker, to receive the report. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. We could take a quick 5-minute break. Could we be really snappy? And then we'll come back and resume the rest of the community infrastructures report. So if we could be back here, we'll be starting at 11. Thank you. Councillors, thank you very much.
Question actually.
We will get underway. So, Grant. Yeah. Oh no. Okay, we're going to move on to reserves and facilities, pages 69 to 81. We'll hand over to you. Thanks, Grant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take the report as read, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. So over to councillors, please. Deputy Mayor Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in relation to the maintenance contracts for the pensioner flats in the various areas, were they just rolled over, or were they tendered, or how did that work? Please.
Through the chair, so are you referring to the program painting and that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, I take it was the maintenance side. Yes, that's program painted. You have part of program maintenance, don't you?
Yeah, through the chair. So I'd have to probably defer to Jane Park, and maybe she can report back to the next meeting. But it was.
Oh, well, even an email would do.
Sure. Yeah. But essentially, it is a multi-year program that we've had for some time now, and so probably the answer is it was a new price was obtained and it was rolled over for another few years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just one comment from me to wrap up the point Councillor Maru asked for. On page 77, we do get a statement saying council could consider applying some of these changes for the remainder of this financial year. So that will get wrapped up in your subsequent paper, Mr. Kirby, just checking on that. Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Killenmont.
Thank you, through the chair. Page 72, clause 6.16. A protected silver birch has been poisoned. Can I ask why a silver birch is a protected tree?
What have you got against silver birches? They're just as relevant as any other exotic tree. Richard might be able to answer a little bit more on that.
We've got a number of trees that are protected. We've even got phoenix palms that are protected, which my pet hates. So they've been in the TRMP for a very long time. To be protected, they're scored on a system. And this particular tree must have scored highly in that environment at the time. Unfortunately, somebody doesn't like the tree and they've taken it on themselves to dispose of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, does beg a lot of questions, I think. But Deputy Mayor Brian.
Going back to my question, Brian, just to clarify, it's the external maintenance contracts for Vosper Street, Mears Haven, Tarka and Murchison have been renewed. This is on page 69 at 6.5. So I just wonder if they just been rolled over, not ended, or
correct. Yes, pretty chair. And they are the program painting ones, as you mentioned.
Councillor Walker.
Thank you, through Chair. Just a quick question with regards to the increase that we've had in vandalism. I'm just wondering if we were able to obtain any evidence, are we in the position to prosecute or do anything with it? Like, what is our messaging out to our community around? It was great to see it in a report. It's actually really sad and it's obviously very costly. But how do we move forward on a positive note, and what messaging are we giving to those perpetrators out there?
So through the chair, there are instances where we do get sort of camera footage and we can prosecute people, and we have received money back from people, individuals, through the court system. But yeah, Richard may want to add something.
Yeah. So at certain reserves, we will install cameras that will capture people doing either damaging reserves or loss of traction. As long as we've got a good package we can put together to the police, then we can proceed with the prosecution. But otherwise, they won't want to know. And with one particular reserve, bush reserve up in the valleys, the police actually pushed back because we were providing them with so much evidence. And they asked us what we were going to do to try and prevent that these incidences happening again. So yes, where we can provide the good evidence, then we do follow it.
All right, thank you for that. Councillor Butler.
Yeah, I see. I think Steve Richards is not here. See, I just had a question about Coast Care in relation to the Puponga plan, which is fantastic, all that work that's being done. Now, I understand that the horse track business out at Puponga, which actually initiated all this in the beginning because of conflicts of interest riding across the beach and stuff, I understand that it might be starting up again. So if it is, it would be really good if we could, you know, try and avoid the problems that we had in the past of, you know, should it start up again, that we, so that all the users of the area can actually do their thing without, you know, conflicts. But I can take that offline as well. I'll follow it up a bit more.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. So, yeah, if we take that offline, it looks like Grant, that's it for reserves and facilities. Thank you, Richard and Grant. Mike, we'll move on to you now for waters and waste. So this is pages 81 through to 115.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, councillors. I'm going to take the report as read. There's only one item I just want to talk a bit more about. As has become practice in this past year, we have added financial graphs to show where we're at with reactive and routine maintenance. One of the things we've discovered in our just checking through some of the details from our contract works is our reactive maintenance is well over budget, but for water and wastewater, the routine actually has gone over as well, both and to a larger extent water. With water, we know a lot of that was because of the sampling budget that was omitted. But what we've discovered is with the increased level of reactive maintenance, that's impacted on the routine maintenance because the guys that do the reactive repairs are also the same team that do the routine. And when they're out doing routine maintenance, they get distracted because there's a water leak or an overflow or something like that. They head off, charge that cost once they head off to the reactive maintenance. But then they've still got to then return to the routine maintenance item, set up again, get all the equipment up from scratch. Can you hear that? And so that element of routine maintenance has never been factored into our budgets. And as the reactive maintenance increases, which it will with some of the deferred maintenance that we're having now, there's going to be a consequent impact on the routine maintenance as well. And that's why it's not just purely on the sampling costs that we've got added costs. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take any question.
Yes, thank you for that explanation. I think I understand it, but I'm not entirely sure, but I'll leave that. I guess maybe I'll just kick off with a question from myself, Mike, and you know, we've all read the media articles this week in terms of Wellington Water. How do we get an assurance that our contracted costs are within a suitable benchmark and not outside of the norm as the media have been reporting for Wellington Water?
So, Madam Chair, first up, we have a minimum of 20 audits or audits of 20 sites every month. That is spread across my team. We have health and safety audits as well. We go through the claim in detail. We have a TOC to which we have full transparency, both of the estimates that were given, but also after the fact, we can go back and look at it's open book to us on what we cost, and they separate out the risks. Whereas a lot of contracts have a schedule of rates where they take on the risk, and that is just hidden in their costs, and you pay what the schedule is. The major factor that we've got in our favour is from day one of this contract, we have had an independent auditor, external auditor. Initially, the first couple of years, it was every quarter he would come in and do a check on our rates and our claim and so on. Then it dropped down to 6 monthly for a couple of years, and we're now on an annual audit. But he gets every single claim every month and keeps an eye on it throughout the year as part of his annual report on it. It does cost us a bit, but as I say, we've got that level of independence. Thank you.
All right, good to hear. So we're not going to be front page of the Nelson Mail. Committee member Starkey and then Councillor Maru.
Kia ora. I just on point 7.28, we list sort of the options to reduce costs, and I know it was mentioned earlier that there's going to be a recommendation report come out, but I wonder, I don't think that we should be looking at reducing costs in terms of delivering quality water to our people. Like, I think the best quality water should be #1 priority for the council to provide to our people. So I don't think we should be cutting costs in this area. That's my whakaaro. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maru.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if I had a question, but I have now, because I like pictures. So page 105, the spraying of the weeds, that's an impressive timeline, because I don't have to read much for that. So does it totally dissolve, or is there a whole lot of downstream bits of dead weed?
Madam Chair, my understanding, it kills it off. So there might be dead vegetation lying there for a wee while afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea is that it kills it off, because some of those weeds, even a bit broken off, floating away, will regenerate downstream. So it's really important that we get a good cover and good kill.
And do we test downstream, or like the herbicide that's used is it looks too good to be true, to be fair. It looks like a perfect result, but what's the downside?
Well, we do inspect all the streams for this, because it does pop up there. Who knows where else it is? So yeah, we've got to keep on top of it. But we've knocked the major areas, and we've also relied on our neighbours to be doing similar, which I understand they are. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Daihe, then Councillor Ellis.
Thank you, through the chair. 7.16 is there's some picture of some vandalism to Collingwood Reservoir roof there. You've got some yo-yos tried to drive on it. I mean, for real. So my question is around the safety of these installations, national standards, fencing. I mean, obviously the water supply is locked and all that, but I mean, we're under the budget constraints, obviously, always challenging, but are we meeting our obligations? I mean, an area like this, should it be fenced? Some of the other water points, should they actually be fenced off? And are we meeting our obligations for getting people out of these areas?
Through you, Madam Chair, I believe we are. This is an isolated site, well away from the public. You've actually, I think it's one of those side-by-side 4x4 quad bikes that's actually done that by the tracks. It's not a big vehicle, so they squeezed in somewhere where they shouldn't have got through. We can go the next step of fencing, but even those areas that are fenced, we've had people up on the Richmond Reservoir, the high-level reservoir, going through the fence, opening up, climbing up the side, and leaving the lids open, sort of thing. And that was fence locked, everything. You know, if they want to get in, they're going to get in somehow. And it's just a question of, you know, how much money do you throw at protecting these areas? But so, yeah, if it's an ongoing issue, we're going to have to invest in more security.
So I guess overall, is there a audit program we conduct to make sure that we are attaining the level that's required?
Absolutely. We do monthly reservoir checks. We go to those sites, inspect them visually just on the outside, and then annually we actually do an internal inspection as well.
Councillor Ellis.
Oh, thank you. Through you, Chair, I just thanks for the report. I mean, it's a massive amount of work happens in this space. A quick comment about noticing the removal of restrictors. They're great pickups. Are we only picking those up when there's an issue and we are doing maintenance, or is there a program of checking restrictors? And I also have a second question is when it comes to maintenance, do we keep a track of where we've had a reactive maintenance issue, so someone's gone to fix it, do we track if someone has to go back in the next day or two because obviously the issue may not have been resolved? Do we track any information on that?
Through you, Madam Chair. So with the restrictors, at the moment we have a 2-yearly cycle that we get to every restrictor on all our schemes and inspect them for damage, for tampering, also test them to make sure they are delivering the required flow rate, because if pressure flows, etc. change, then they won't get it. Other than that, it really is response to leak reports or damage that people have noticed to let us know, or invariably it's someone downstream that's not getting water or is not getting their full allocation, and we track it down. But that is one of the things we will be suggesting amongst a raft of budget cuts if necessary. You know, is that how important is that? We believe it's very important. But those are things that are up for debate now going forward on cost savings. And just rely more on people reporting an issue if there's an issue. So coming back to your second question, going back, I'm not sure I quite understood. Is this just a follow-up to make sure that things are actually operating okay after that, or?
No, it's, are we checking, you know, because often, how do I explain it? How often do they have to go back within a day or two? Have they, as a response to a question that someone's raised with me in the community, are they fixing the issue correctly in the first place? And are they having to go back in the next 24, 48 hours or 3 days to refix it? Like, do we have, I'm guessing that's part of the audit process.
Well, we record every job, every defect, every job request, service request. And as soon as it comes back, if there's a repeat job on there, it's logged and it goes to the same asset. So we can look at the asset and see how many times you've gone back and how many times we've had to repair it. So yes, absolutely, we can follow up. We do keep a track of all the work done on the assets. And that's part of our claim as well. The guys pretty well pick up when they're checking the claims is, hang on, we've paid for this before. Why has it happened again? What's the cause of the failure? Yep.
All right, thank you. It would appear, Mike, there's no further questions. So thanks for your report, and thanks as well for, you know, being proactive and sort of looking at the total operation of your part of the business and what we can do and what we can't do. It's much appreciated. So I think that takes us now to the program delivery update. Adam and Rob, thank you for sitting there so patiently. So this is from pages 115 through to 155 in your document this morning, councillors. So over to you, Rob or Adam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Take the report as read. Just one thing we'd like to highlight, I guess, is that leading up to Christmas, we actually did get $12 million of projects out the door. And we've also had another push after Christmas. So we had a lull period where we don't tender over Christmas. So yeah, we're busy putting contracts out again, and obviously the Lower Queen Street's one of the big ones for us. So, take any questions.
Deputy Mayor Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the Chair, Adam, thanks for the report. And yeah, as you say, there's a lot of work going on out there. But I just wonder if I could ask you around 2 or 3 projects that are shown as red. Firstly is Best Island. That seems to be going on and on. I understand from the report it's Lynn's and sounds like government. Is there any way we can move that faster? Because I know the people down there are wanting to get on with it. They often ask me, or some of them, where it's at.
Perhaps I could answer that. Are you asking me to push government on?
Hey, that would be good, Richard, if you could. Or their process.
No, basically that's where it's at. And I think probably on the ground, we've got agreement in place. Other than the legal process being followed, the fences are up and the road is essentially road now. We've just got to go through the process legally. So physically, the residents might be concerned, but at the end of the day, they've got access now and they shouldn't have any disruptions from neighbours.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like all these things, I guess they want to tie it up because certainly the last time
We would love to have it tidied up as well.
Yeah, well,
It's just one of those things.
Nearly 26 years.
Well, another 6 months is not a problem then.
Yeah. And then secondly, if I could ask about the Upper Moochie pathway, I'm not sure Adam or the shared pathway that we were hoping to start work beginning of April, I believe.
Yeah, so the contract's been let and the contract is due to start in May. I think it's May.
Right, so you're still hoping for construction
to be completed by June, end of June, yeah.
And then finally, just in relation to the Waiheke water storage scheme, just the augmentation pipeline that's delayed, is that just around a landowner approvals, consenting or other issues? Or all of the above?
Yeah, through Madam Chair. Yeah, it is landowner confirmation. There's 4 parties we need to work with. I've got to say all 4 of them have been really cooperative. Jeff has created some very good working relations with them. It just takes time to get the approvals and the costings and so on in place, yeah.
I once again hope to get that construction done prior to winter. Right. Next.
I'm guessing we'll probably do the site clearing at the inlet and the removal of the pile of all wood and dead wood there lying around. So our main thing is we can do a bit of that this year, but the actual construction, we're probably not going to have it operational before the end of the year.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dowler.
Yep, I refer you to, thanks, Madam Chair, page 126, the Wakawera Street, Manoy Street roundabout. During discussions while we're in Motueka, when we're doing the other stuff, I mentioned to the on-site project manager to get a costing to get the roundabout constructed off-site and then brought in and placed on-site, just the same as the NZTA did with the roundabout at the clock tower. It was built in 4 sections and then was just brought in overnight. They had everything prepped and they just laid it on the ground. And then the next day they just started forming around it, which saved, I think, 6 weeks of concrete curing time before any vehicle could drive on it, etc., because it was all pre-cured and everything before it came along. So I'm wondering, the question, do you know if the option of a roundabout being built off-site and then transported in sections and placed on-site has been followed up?
That project's on hold at the moment because we don't have confirmation of funding. So we haven't progressed it further than nothing in the last few months. But certainly we've taken that suggestion on board, and when we get back to working with a contractor, we'll definitely explore that option.
Yeah, because I see that you've said it's going to be 450k more than the available budget. And that's in the wording there, and a lot of that time is because of the traffic management and everything for 6 weeks while the concrete dries in the ground and blah, blah, blah. So I just think every avenue should be followed up if possible, please.
Yeah, through the chair, we'll certainly do that. Yeah.
Thank
Noting
you.
that there's a lot of the cost and redoing the curb, redoing the base and lowering the services. Yeah. That's just one item, many.
It was Alpha Precast in Motueka who built the roundabout for the Clock Tower corner. So it's just around the road from where the site is.
Thank you. Councillor Kinnermont.
Thank you, through the chair. Page 127, project number 1400, Dovedale Infiltration Gallery. Sorry to bring this up, but I think this is going to be one of the ones that's going to trip us up, if I have to be honest. Searching for an alternative water source is getting us nowhere. We've already spent 104,000 looking for it. I have a budget of 180,000. It was supposed to be delivered by June this year, and it's now forecast for June next year. I'm just wondering whether this should be a project that we put out to consultant, to review, to give us some oversight of it. Because I think at the moment, all Dovedale residents, correct me if I'm wrong, still under a boil water notice. I think we need to elevate this up. So can you please give me a bit of a heads up of what's happening, when it'll happen, and when the Dovedale supply will be back to normal needs of a drinking supply.
Madam Chair, I'll take this. So this has been a long process. It goes back to 1990 something, when we looked for source water. We did a report back then trying to find other source of water in Dovedale. 1996, I think it actually was. And there's just not many options in Dovedale, full stop. And we've looked at every other option along outside of the river, the Moshback River itself, on the banks. We've sunk 6 bores on the True Rights bank. We've sunk a gallery and a bore on the True Left bank. And with the rock structure underground there, it's just not a lot of depth to get into it or for an aquifer to form there. So the only option going forward is going to actually abstract water from the river itself. And it's how we do that is now the challenge. We're looking at putting in a gallery very close to the river that essentially takes water straight from the river. It's going to need more treatment to achieve that, so more filtration, especially at high flows. And that's the challenge. And that is not as straightforward as the bores are sort of easy to get consents, get approvals from various parties. From the river, there's a whole different consenting process that we've got to take on. And that is the final option. If this doesn't work, we don't have options for a water supply other than the existing Humphreys Creek, which is now being affected by harvesting and will be for the next few years. So every time there's a rain event, we've basically got to shut down the treatment plant. We do need people to have storage. There are still a few that we have issues with that complain a day without the treatment plant that they've run out of water. They should have 7 days storage. For domestic, they should have a minimum of 25 cubic meters. That should see an average household good for close to a month. So we've got things in place that we can work around, and within 2 or 3 days, generally that stream cleans up well enough for us to supply water again. Yes, it is a permanent boil water notice, but it's no good putting in treatment until we have the ability to have a quality of water that is treatable without excessive costs. So it's a balancing act, and it's not going to be a cheap option going down this track. We've got, I think, $6 to $7 million budgeted for it, and we want to make sure that that is spent wisely and most cost efficient, and it is a genuine long-term option. All right. Adam, would you like to add anything more to that?
You just sitting there, through the chair. This project was actually for investigations into a new supply, and that's what that money's for. So what Mike's talking about is the bigger picture of where we're headed. So unfortunately, we have done some more test wells this year, and we haven't found any result. So
Thank you. All right. Deputy Mayor Bryant, I think you're all right. The resolution has been moved and seconded by Councillor Dowler. I think lastly, Councillor Dakey, you had a
Very quick, I'll make it real quick. Project 1592, Bait Up Road toilet offline. Maybe just send out an email or something, or we can catch up, Jamie or project team, around the funding. NZTA funding is holding it up, but just how much we're funding, if anything, Nelson's putting into this, or whether it's us because of the contract there, or whether the contractor who runs the service is also contributing. I'd just like a heads up around how the funding model works, what we're left with, the ongoing maintenance of this new block, just a picture of it all, so that when the public comes to me and says, oh, this money was for this, I can say, yeah, well, this is the sources of funding and this is why we did it. So just the overview of the project would be great. Thank you.
all right. We'll take that offline. Thank you. So we have a resolution which has been moved and seconded. And I'm going to put that resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Which takes us to our last report, which is seeking our approval or retrospectively of a submission to the Nelson City Council on local water done well. So Michael, thank you very much for being patient there. Over to you, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through the Chair, just take the report as being read. Happy to answer any questions. It's pretty short, it's pretty sweet, so thank you.
Anybody happy to move? Moved by Councillor Dowler, seconded by Councillor Kinmonth. Any discussion? No? All right. Thank you very much. That was pretty straightforward. So I'm going to put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, which actually brings us to the conclusion of. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hill, you had your hand raised.
I did, Chair, just to have a little comment about the submission, but we've passed it now. All good. You can imagine what it might have been.
Oh, thank you very much. We'll leave it at that. And so I will do the closing karakia. A different one. Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapa ponamu te moana, aroha atu araha mai, tēnā tātou, tēnā tātou, tēnā tātou katoa. Let calm go forth, the sea shines like the greenstone, goodwill has been exchanged, acknowledgements to you, me and everyone here. So thank you very much, everybody.